the market. Then, guys, I wanted to answer some of your questions on other stories, on other players. On Viktor Gyökeres, guys, the verbal agreement, as I told you yesterday, between Arsenal and Sporting is done. What's going on today is that Arsenal and Sporting are exchanging all the emails to check every single point of the contract. You can imagine, after that kind of long saga, long negotiation, how complicated is the contract, especially on the add-ons part. Every single detail of the add-on has to be okay. Verbal is agreed. Now it's time to exchange all the documents, to exchange all the contracts. So check all the documents and all the contracts, but Arsenal are on it. So working on the legal side of the deal with Viktor Gyökeres, waiting for a green light to undergo the medical is not something that is happening today. So we have to be patient. I mean, today the medical. We are waiting for the green light. The player is waiting for the green light, and then Viktor Gyökeres will complete the formal steps of his move to Arsenal. On Arsenal, we said about the interest on Xavi Simons, but don't forget who is their top target for that position, that creative player up front. Eberechi, Eze, they made contact with the player's camp already in June, as I told you, positive contact with player keen on the move. Now let's see if after the Gyökeres story, after some outgoings, because outgoings will still be important for Arsenal this summer, if they decide to attack also on club side for Eberechi Eze, who remains a player really appreciated internally at Arsenal. They extended the contract of Ethan Nwaneri, so that remains absolutely a done deal in terms of extending the contract of Ethan. But at the same time, Arsenal maintained their interest in adding one more offensive player based on the budget, and for sure Eberechi Eze is really appreciated.
And the news doesn't stop. Stay with me because we still have updates about Tottenham Hotspur trying to hijack the Gunners' biggest signing, and Xavi Simons finally revealing what his future will be. According to Spanish news outlet AS, Tottenham Hotspur have joined the race for Real Madrid winger Rodrygo, with Daniel Levy keen to bolster his squad for their Champions League campaign. The report claims that new manager Thomas Frank was promised investment by the Spurs hierarchy and are going to try and lower the 90 million euros asking price for the Brazilian. Real Madrid are holding talks with Rodrygo over his future at the club, with Andrea Berta and Mikel Arteta both still very much in the hunt for the forward. The Gunners still want to add another forward player to their ranks this summer after completing deals for Gyökeres and Noni Madueke. Another signing is dependent on player sales, with the likes of Reiss Nelson and Fabio Vieira up for sale in order to generate funds for one more statement acquisition. Arsenal must repeat William Saliba trick and beat Spurs to Rodrygo's signing. Arsenal famously beat their North London rivals to the signing of William Saliba back in 2019 and must repeat that transfer trick that time around with Rodrygo. The Gunners are desperate for something different on that left flank, a player with pace and creativity, the ability to change a game on his own. Rodrygo has proven he can do that on the very biggest of stages, and to allow Spurs to steal a march and sign him would be a travesty for Arteta and his plans this season. Mikel Merino labeled Rodrygo as exquisite, with the Gunners squad knowing his talents after facing him in the Champions League last season. The business the club have completed so far has been impressive, all done in a timely manner to get prepared for the start of the season. However, the left wing position was a priority at the start of the window and must be addressed before that September deadline. Xavi Simons has decided which club he'd rather join between Arsenal and Chelsea. Arsenal and Chelsea are involved in transfers in every window one way or another. Xavi Simons' future is up in the air. The Dutchman is expected to leave RB Leipzig this summer and has been linked with a move to several big clubs over the years. Arsenal are interested in signing Simons, but the Gunners are set to face some stiff competition for his signature. From Chelsea, the Telegraph revealed that the Blues have made a check on the availability of the player and have found out that he is open to a move. The report also mentions Arsenal's interest in Simons, but they claim that Chelsea are the club that attracts him the most in the Premier League. Enzo Maresca's side, however, need to sell players before they can make a move for the RB Leipzig star. Simons is a brilliant young player, there is no debate there. The Dutch international can play in almost every attacking position, and he has produced some exceptional performances over the years. However, if Simons prefers Chelsea over Arsenal, the Gunners should stay away from him and focus on one of Mikel Arteta's other targets, Eberechi. Yes, Ez played more games than Simons last season, and you could argue that's why his numbers are superior to those of the RB Leipzig star. However, the Englishman produced those figures against Premier League opposition. Everyone knows that's more difficult to do compared to teams in Germany. We think Ez is a better player than Simons for what Arsenal need right now. Andrea Berta should go all out for him once a new striker walks in. Attacker who hasn't played for Arsenal in 333 days, now spotted back in first-team training. 333 days on from his last appearance for Arsenal, Reiss Nelson has been pictured back in training for Arsenal. Nelson spent last season on loan with Fulham, and after a string of injuries, his time at Fulham was cut short. Now, Nelson is back at Arsenal, and despite the fact Nelson has been linked with a move away, he's currently in Singapore training with the Gunners. Nelson's last appearance for Arsenal was on August 24th, 2024, and now, almost 12 months later, he's back working with the Gunners and trying to impress Mikel Arteta. Nelson may be back in training for Arsenal, but one has to imagine this is the end of the road for the winger at the Emirates. Nelson has been linked to Bournemouth recently, and sadly, it looks like he won't be at Arsenal for much longer. Gabriel Martinelli and Leandro Trossard are already options down that left wing, while Rodrygo is an Arsenal target too. That means there's not likely to be any space for Nelson and Mikel Arteta's plans, particularly after Noni Madueke signed to play down the right wing too. Nelson may be back in training for Arsenal, but he may well have already played his final competitive game for the club ahead of a potential summer move. Arsenal fans all noticed something interesting about Martin Zubimendi during his debut against AC Milan. Martin Zubimendi made his debut for Arsenal during a friendly against AC Milan in Singapore on Wednesday. The Spain international joined the Gunners in a £55.8 million move from Real Sociedad on July 6th, roughly 12 months on from another Premier League side in Liverpool trying to sign the central midfielder. Arsenal fans have been made to wait around 2 weeks for a first glimpse of Martin Zubimendi in action, and almost immediately spotted something interesting about the new signing. The Arsenal number 36 is a deep-lying midfielder by trade, but he got Arsenal fans talking on X, previously known as Twitter, by making frequent runs in behind the AC Milan backline. One Arsenal supporter wrote, "Zubimendi tends to go beyond the AM, attacking midfielder when we are in settled play. That's interesting." Another mentioned that the 26-year-old can practically do it all, highlighting that he was both controlling the play from deep and getting himself into forward areas too. They opined, "Just look at how Zubimendi positions himself on the pitch. He goes from being the deepest player on the pitch in possession to making runs into the box. What a player we have." This was a deliberate instruction from Mikel Arteta. It is a strange one when you consider how little the man from San Sebastian has contributed in terms of goal involvements throughout his career. In 236 appearances for Real Sociedad, Zubimendi, who Mikel Merino admires, only scored 10 goals and provided 9 assists. A third Arsenal fan added, "Something I noticed about Zubimendi when watching him was how switched on and how well he anticipates runs in behind the defense. Reads them well." It is worth noting that Declan Rice was not exactly an attacking midfielder before his move to Arsenal, but Arteta has managed to make the England international a threat to opposition defenses. He scored 9 goals and assisted another 10 in all competitions last season, playing 52 games. Therefore, anything is possible for Zubimendi with a talented coach in Arteta, who also handed Christian Norgard a debut, working alongside him. And that wraps up today's biggest Arsenal news. If you enjoyed the update and want to stay on top of everything happening with the Gunners, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Come on, Arsenal!